Anyone have a question?
Could you talk a little bit about being more in the energy? I feel like sometimes I'm kind of manipulating it from outside rather than, like opening my heart rather than myself opening. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but if you could discuss that.
Um, well, the whole purpose of all this is to make it experiential and not something in the head, not something you think you're doing. I mean, the job is to build an inner life that is strong enough so that you can be guided by spiritual energy. Then it's not a matter of ever thinking about these kind of things, or it becomes a living reality in your life. But how does this become a living reality in one's life if the chakra system isn't highly developed? So one has to just do the inner work, develop that kind of system. And then there are then the questions like this, they don't exist, because you have developed a system that's strong enough where your energy is a living expression of spirit, of higher energy in the universe. And you don't have to think about it. You are just living it. You're living in the moment. You're being in the now. And I think that's the key. But how does one do this? I mean, a lot of people have written books about this, but I've never read any of them that explain ways of how you learn how to do this. Because the whole idea is something extraordinary, living in the moment, being a vehicle through which higher energy can flow, having a system inside that allows you to surrender the obstructions so that you can truly be that kind of vehicle. But it's all experiential. It has nothing to do with intellectual understanding or inner or outer, all this other kind of stuff. It's experiential. We learn how to develop a system inside that allows us to live that way. And I think it's an incredible way to live, I mean, yeah, it doesn't mean that you don't get tired, you don't get this, you get everything. But you also recognize it as just a state of your being, and you can deal with it and manage all these things that come along. But that's our goal, really. Our goal is to live in the moment, and it as something not that sounds good because we read it in a book somewhere, but as an actual living experience. I mean, you're all the skiing, I mean, if you're not in the moment while you're coming down the mountain, forget about it. You're going to go right into a tree, So it's really the same idea, that you've got to be grounded. You have to be centered. You have to be in the moment. And then that opens the pathway from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain. Or if you want to reverse it, from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain. When I was younger, I used to play basketball, and I discovered even at the age of 15 that if I thought about what I was doing, it always went awry. If I just lived it in the moment, I would wind up scoring 30 points, 25 points in a game. I mean, the games used to be sensational. As soon as I began to think about it and try to analyze it, the whole thing went awry. It just didn't work anymore. It's when they talk about athletes being in the zone. That zone is not in the head, it's when they're grounded in the hara. And there's balance, there's harmony. Can, they can really interact with everything that takes place around them and flow with it and make their lives work that way. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask? Anyone else? And you can't manipulate this, It's just an organic thing that happens. because you have done the inner work that allows it to happen. You have to have patience, and we all of us have to have patience. We have to do the work and then allow ourselves to just be a vehicle through which spirit flows. I mean, it's an incredible way to live. It overcomes fear, insecurity, anxiety, insecurity, all of these things that people live with every day. Ego, you can't live in the midst of your ego if, and expect to do what I'm talking about. Does anyone else have a question?
I have a question, Stuart. Chris. Stuart, could you please talk about this time between Rudy's birthday and Samadhi Day?
You mean the time where I feel like I have a cold chisel trying to drill a tunnel through a mountain? That's the time this is.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how tired I am and how the work I have to do every day, classes I have to do. And it's, to me, I don't know about everyone else, but to me, since Rudy Samadhi, it's always been the hardest period of my year.
Mhm.
And I don't know why it is, I don't know, but it always has been that way. And also you have Mercury in retrograde now. And that adds to the, the sluggishness, like nothing works, or things work, but they work in a half-assed way, So I don't know, Chris, I haven't an answer for that other than this time of the year.
Mhm.
It's the dead of winter.
Yeah.
Everything is dead. And yet it's a healthy kind of death, because without that death, there's no rebirth. But you have to, navigate your way through it. And I have to anyway. And I find as difficult as it is, I find, it's like in that poem by Keats, if winter's here, can spring be far behind? I mean, it's really the truth.
Yeah.
You go through the dead of the year. And it happens to be between Rudy's Samadhi and his birthday.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Thank
years of doing this have made me at least understand what it's all about. Without death, there is no rebirth. Understand? Without things coming to an end, there is no beginnings. So for me, this time of the year is the end of a cycle and the beginning.
Mhm.
If I can survive the next 3 weeks, it's the beginning of a whole new cycle.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And that's important to know, because we have minor cycles like that. They happen every day. They happen once a week. We have to go through these minor death and rebirths. And it's simply like nature does it. It rests.
Yeah.
It rests. And then when spring comes, boom, it's like everything comes alive.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I mean, you watch a few good movies. It's what are you gonna do? It's like when I used to walk into Rudy's gallery and he'd be sitting there stringing beads.
Right.
I say, Rudy, what are you doing? He said, Stuart, I'm incapable of doing anything else. The energy is so powerful. The changes are so strong. I cannot do anything. So I'll string beads. He would sit there. I'd be there for 2 hours. He sat there making little necklaces. So I can't do anything else. It's impossible. And I feel the same way now.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have a question they would would like to ask. Okay, there'll be a class on Sunday. I'm not going to be able to have a class on Monday, this coming Monday. So there'll be one on Sunday and then then there'll be one on the following Wednesday. So I'm hoping to see everybody. And again, God bless you. Do your inner work. Don't sit down and do it 12 hours a day, but every day sit down for a half hour and just do your inner work. And let's kind of bring that kind of opening. Anyway, the opening is great in these classes. I have nothing to complain about. I just find a lot of people that are really living deeply in my heart. And I look forward to coming here and doing this because it's just wonderful. This class, the one in Europe and Israel, it's amazing, that this work is touching people all over the world. So God bless everybody, and we'll have a meditation on Sunday, and you all have a great weekend. And
Love you so much.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you very much, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.
Night.